Mr. X with the Extreme Channel here to tell you that some things don't age well, especially fashion statements. I mean, at one time, this looked cool. In fact, some people still think it does. But today we're going to dive into a statue display case option, MODUCASES, and see if they've aged well. So, as the Extreme Channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We're all about extreme collectibles. Now, when you collect collectibles, you need to display them somehow. And if you're a follower of this channel, you know that I've gone through so many iterations of statue display cases. In fact, one of my more popular videos is an older one right here, talking about different display case option, and that includes MODUCASES, which are what are behind me. Now, really quick, I've done a few videos on MODUCASES in the past. I was one of the first collectors to actually receive them in the US, and not only that, but I have a lot of them. I have over $20,000 worth of just MODUCASE displays. Now, MODUCASE, now named Moduspace, because as you can imagine, in the last 4 years they've expanded quite a bit, are display cases that come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors made out of steel and acrylic panels. So when I did the first video I've ever done with MODUCASES, and by the way, make sure to check this out because you can see my butt crack, I assembled it raw for the first time. And MODUCASES, especially when they first came out, did not have easy assembly. Now granted, after I did about 40 of them, it became easier. But still not the easiest, and we'll talk more about that. Now 4 years later, are they better? Because it is different. But I actually did a review right here but I did this video on reviewing MODUCASES, are they worth it? Now I get a lot of comments, both positive and negative, when people look at my display and collection. And I want to say about 60% of it are in MODUCASES. The other are actually in industrial shelving, and I stole the idea from Bogle Arts a long time ago. And now that I've had them for about 4 years, and like I said, they've gone through some reiterations. I purchased a ton 4 years ago, a few 2 years ago. I even got some in recently. Got me wondering, are they still worth it? Well, to be honest with you, I think there's some things about MODUCASES that haven't changed. I think there's some things that got better, and I think there's some things that got worse. Now, really quick 1-minute elevator speech. So as I said, you can get them in a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors. They can interlock together. The acrylic panels at the front come off very easy, which obviously has some advantages to it. There's some cool lighting options, and they look classy. And I think this is really important. And if you're new to this game, most of these statues I have around me cost anywhere from $800 all the way up to $5,000. So for example, I have about a $1,500 statue in this case right here, and you want to protect that investment. Now you got to figure out how much money you're going to spend to protect the money you already spent, which is something we'll talk about. Now before we get to that, a few things about the evolution of MODUCASES. So MODUCASES were created by a guy named Brian, who's actually very active in the collecting community. He has no idea I'm making this video, but I bet you're watching, Brian. And the reason he made these is he wanted something cool to display his statues in. He was tired of stuff from IKEA. Hell, some people put it on wooden tables. Like I said, industrial shelving has come a long way, where you can kind of church it up a little. And they're based in Singapore, and now they are worldwide. A pretty go-to option that, in my opinion, hasn't been matched yet. Now, I'm not saying this is the best option, but for the space they're in, no pun intended, I don't really see a strong competitor if this is the type of cabinetry or display space you want. So as we talk about the evolution of them, I want to talk about some of the things that are better. So these are things that over the last 4 years, I've seen in their new units that have actually gotten better. One of the things is number of options. So that's not just size. So originally they had 60 or 70 centimeter base, which is 24 or 28 inches. And those were cubes, rectangles, vertical rectangles, horizontal rectangles. But they have stuff now for 1/6 display. They have a larger display, which is a plus, max plus. They have ones that fit in a corner now. They have storage space on the bottom. Now they offer white backgrounds as well as black. So I think one of the things that have gotten better over time for MODUCASES is definitely the options that they offer. Another strong thing I think they've got better at is the lighting. So you can order different lighting. It can be bar, white lighting. It can be normal LED. It can be spotlights. You can choose warm or white for both. And not only has their lighting gotten better, but also the power supplies for them. So they've offered a lot of options where you can actually tie them together. The lights don't get as dim as they used to. So you can definitely tell just in general they're going to better suppliers for their pieces, which is really comforting knowing that they're growing. And most companies do the opposite. They get quality pieces at first, and then as they get so big to save money, they actually go with lower end parts. Now, another great thing about MODUCASE to this day is anything you put in the MODUCASE, you can help with dust quite a bit. I can't tell you the amount of dust difference between my statues openly displayed and the ones in the case. It is night and day without a doubt. Now, while it isn't airtight in there by any means, I would say the ones on the inside are once a year dusting compared to probably needed monthly on the outside. I think that's a huge advantage that they have continued with, and it seems like it gets better and better even with the new units, especially some of the ways that they secure. Something that's gotten slightly better, not greatly better, is the assembly. It used to be horrible, partly because they didn't have very good or any instructions, but they have changed the assembly method. It is still difficult. If you don't have experience just doing a standard cube like this and you're uninterrupted, you can plan at a minimum 30 minutes, if not an hour. If you become a pro, you can probably get it down to about 20 minutes. Not a big deal if you're buying one, but if you have 10 to put together, that's quite a lot. And with the assembly, just like I talked about with the lighting, I think the parts are getting a little bit better parts. Some of the stuff is easier to do, but I still definitely think it could improve. Now, along with that, I think their packaging has gotten better. When I first ordered a ton of them, a ton came broken. Now, they replaced it at no charge. That wasn't a big deal. But it's a little bit annoying, where I haven't had a broken piece in a long time. So I think that their packaging is definitely getting much better. Now, before we dive into things that I think haven't improved and are still a pain in the butt, one question I get all the time is, hey, Mr. X, MODUCASES normally don't have anything on top of them. When I was purchasing these, I really wanted to put stuff on top. So I was talking to Brian because I put in a big order. Like I said, I was going to be one of the first US collectors to have them. And he actually fashioned me plywood boards with felt on them to put on the top. And to be completely transparent, I don't know if that's an option anymore because I have enough of them from my original order, but it is a great option. And people ask, how much weight can these hold? Especially some of my cabinets have a ton of weight on them. And my answer is, I have yet to find out. I have put hundreds of pounds on top and haven't had an issue. Now, I wouldn't recommend you doing that because what if it breaks and you're going to blame Mr. X? But it does give you a little bit more display space, especially for the taller pieces, which gets me into the first negative of the evolution of MODUCASE. They did create a larger, taller case. Instead of being a max of about 27 inches on the interior, you can now go up to 30 with their Max Plus line. It's still not enough.
Hey, that's what she said.
1/3 scale pieces are typically over 30 inches, and nowadays a ton of 1/4 scale pieces are. Everything you see right here is almost over 30 inches. So you still have to prioritize display space, especially if you're a hoarder like me. So I don't think that's improved. I would still love for them to come out with ones that have a 36-inch clearance. I think that would be huge. One disadvantage as well, and I don't know how to fix this, so I don't really blame Moduspace for this, but they're such innovators, I would hope they'd come up with something. View angles at the bottom still aren't great for a number of reasons. One, they're at the bottom, you're above it, but I would love to figure something out where you can have better view angles at the bottom. Another part of Moduspace that hasn't improved, it's actually gone in the opposite direction, which is price. Now, this naturally makes sense because the economy is getting tougher and tougher. But with that being said, these are really, really expensive. So this display case right here that holds that $1,500 piece is about $300. That is a ton of money. But if you think about it, it's only about 20% of your investment. So 20% make your investment look a lot cooler and protect it. And this is probably an extreme example. I want to say most of the cases I can get about 5 to 10% of the value of the statues. That's how much a MODUCASE will cost. And of course, it depends what you collect. If you collect low-cost, affordable pieces, then that ratio is going to be much higher. But if you normally watch the channel, you know, right over here, I actually have an X-Men display behind me that probably has about a 3 to 5% ratio, meaning the $2,000 I spent on MODUCASES is nothing compared to the statues on top. But their price hasn't improved. They are still a very premium product, and this is something that you got to think about when collecting. The next thing they haven't improved is their shipping time. It's still horrible. I think their shipping time was best when they started. I only waited 6 months for my initial shipment, and that was about $10,000 or so compared to the 20 to 30 I've spent now. Their shipping times are absolutely horrible. For example, this case, I waited 18 months for. That's a long time considering a lot of things can change in 18 months. I think that's still a huge disadvantage and something that needs to be improved upon. The last thing I think is a disadvantage is I think they need to do something with their acrylic panels as far as the reflectivity. So there's not the best lighting in this room. I usually use more intense lighting. And if I did, that reflectivity, as you can see right there, is pretty horrible. Not only is it horrible, but it creates a lot of problems when you're trying to film or photograph your collection. They need to look into some options where the reflectivity is not that big of an issue. It hasn't changed over the years. So in summary, did MODUCASES age well? Overall, I think they did. You know, they have more options, they're better parts. They still do a fantastic job displaying collectibles. Are they the absolute best thing for statue displays? Well, that's kind of subjective. I like them a lot. I like them quite a bit, actually. Other than built-ins, which I don't do, which I actually talk about in a few different videos, I think they're one of the best options for me personally. What do you think? Throw that down in the comments below. I love to interact with you guys, and most importantly, as you know, you could win a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win.